Hi, I'm back with Amanda Billings. We've met Amanda before, but maybe you didn't watch that show. So, Amanda, could you remind us what you're running for and where that is?
Hi, sure. Thank you for having me, Robert. I'm Amanda Billings. I am the Libertarian Party candidate for Kentucky Senate District 3 that covers Christian County, Todd County, and Logan County.
Hmm.
Um, Very western Kentucky, very rural farmlands, and just a great place to be.
Right. And normally I don't speak bad of other candidates, and I know Amanda absolutely won't. So I'm going to kick Whitney Chesterfield under the table here because it's his fault that Kentuckians who need medical marijuana can't get it this year. But we're not
Right.
talking about that tonight because tonight we're talking about victimless crimes. And that's kind of a victimless crime, but I kind of put it in another category because it's to me it's like if you're keeping people from getting medicine they need that their doctors say they need, that's not even I that's like a whole different thing. That's a whole different debate to me. So
Certainly.
but still I always bring it up, and of course I'm going to point you to Amanda's Facebook page and donation page. I may as well go ahead and get that out of the way. So you can go there, and I also just put that in the comments, so you can go to the comments and see how to get to Amanda's Facebook page, and let's get the donate out of the way as well. So that's where you can go to donate. You can also navigate there from the Facebook page. It's not real hard to find. It's just donating to Amanda is critically important because we can't let Whitney Chesterfield back in office.
Yeah.
That's but tonight's a different thing. Tonight's a whole different slew of stuff. I'm sure Whitney also wouldn't go along with. But enough about that guy. I got to stop saying his name. It's press for him. So kind of a new topic. And it's not just victimless crimes, but kind of the intersection of the boundaries of freedom. So we thought we'd start talking about masks, right? Uh,
Yes.
people people want us to wear masks. Government wants us to wear masks. Do businesses want us to wear masks? Do our fellow man want to wear masks? And is that really any of their business? So
So yeah,
where are you coming down on this?
masks are the big topic du jour. They should have been the topic, I feel like, for the past few months now. So it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of late. The whole rhetoric started off with only health professionals should use masks, and general public doesn't need them, and save the masks for the health professionals, which I was 100% for. Obviously, they need them more than anybody else as far as this is concerned.
Right.
But now it's turned into this huge debate of, should you wear a mask? Should you not wear a mask? Does it help? Does it not? Nobody knows what to believe anymore, which is part of the really big problem with it. It's not so much
Well,
wearing the mask itself. It's that nobody really knows what to trust on it.
right. Well, they
And
lied
then
to
there's
us. They
yeah,
lied to
right,
us. I
right.
mean,
So
they've come out and said now, well, I mean, they didn't exactly use these words, but fundamentally they lied to us to, alter our behavior to conserve masks as opposed to having any faith in us whatsoever at all, that they could just tell us what they really thought and then say, but please, 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 please save the N95 masks for the people who need them.
right. So I'm seeing a lot of things online on Facebook and social media, Twitter, about, the big mask debate. And there seems to be this general disgust, I guess you could say, for people who don't want to wear a mask.
Sure.
And so I kind of feel like it's important for us, especially as libertarians, to maybe help people to understand that it's not just about wearing the mask. It's about personal responsibility. It's about doing what you feel is best for yourself and your family, and not really, I don't want to say not worrying so much about what other people are doing, but just having the understanding that it's not your business what they do, that you can't control what other people do. We're not here to control others. We're here to control our own behavior. That's all we can do at the end of the day.
Right.
And then there's also, to take it one step further, there's this kind of debate about mandated mask wearing versus freedom. And I kind of feel like that needs to be cleared up as well, because people don't realize that it's not really about the fundamental idea of wearing the mask. It's about, again, personal freedom, personal responsibility of wearing that mask, and then also businesses that are involved with that decision. Businesses can tell you, you have to wear a mask to enter our establishment, and that's their choice. That's something that they can do. And when you see these people who are in the store and the workers are telling them you have to wear a mask, and they're like throwing a temper tantrum on the floor,
Right.
like they don't understand that, like, that's not the same thing as taking away our rights, because you're a guest in that business. They have the right to refuse service to anybody that they don't want to serve.
Right.
And so that's not the same thing as the government mandating us to wear masks and ordering us. And for instance, what's happening in Nashville right now with, if you're on the street and you're found without a mask, they're going to try to give you one and tell you need to wear one. And if you're found not wearing one again, then you can, earn yourself a $50 fine. Now that, I feel, is certainly not okay. And I cannot believe that they're able to do that, and that nobody has open up a court case about that. Because it's just,
Right.
that is not the function of government, is to tell people that when you're walking out on the street, this is what you've got to do. It's once you step your foot across that threshold into a business that they can tell you what to do.
Well,
and
nobody tell Nashville about Chris Weiss, because he's busy enough suing our governor.
Right.
I don't know that he. I'm sorry. I don't know that he has bandwidth to sue your governor too. We're gonna get poor Chris in a fight with every governor in every state.
He's going to be really busy for a long time. So that's just something that I feel people don't understand. It's very, I don't know. To me, I feel like it's really simple, and I feel like people want to complicate things all the time. And it's like, no, just look at how simple it can be. Like, be responsible for yourself. If you feel very strongly about wearing a mask, then wear a mask. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you feel very strongly that people should be wearing a mask, well, that's still your opinion, and you can't force that on other people. I'm seeing things about people going into stores and starting altercations with people because they're not wearing masks, and that's just insane to me. Like, you're there by choice just as much as they are, and you do have the free choice to not go there if you feel that there are so many people who are upsetting you about not wearing a mask, or vice versa, however you may feel. So
one of the more prominent theories is the discussion of projected speech. So you're going to get that.
Right.
You're going to get that if you're singing, or also if you're screaming at someone in an altercation. So if you get in a screaming match with somebody in a store about not wearing a mask, you're literally probably doing more harm than good.
Right. I mean, who's going to look bad on the person who's minding their business without a mask, or you getting in their face because they're not wearing a mask?
And so, I do have some reservations about wearing masks. I mean, frankly, just like from a science standpoint, not that I'm an expert in the field, but I did go reading on it. The evidence for is, we think maybe probably it might help, kind of things. Which still, I mean, if there's absolutely no risk and absolutely no harm, might be good. Okay, that's maybe good enough. But then there are concerns about, does it cause people to be closer? Does it cause people to abandon other things they should be doing?
Right.
Just one of my own harebrained theories is I wonder if masks help turn droplets into aerosols. I'm concerned about masks working to aerosolize, and that was kind of a curious thing to me until about a week or so ago. I started hearing them being more concerned about spreading COVID by aerosols, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we are passionate about people doing the best thing they can for their fellow man.
Right. Right.
We
So
we care
again,
about
and
that.
if you feel that, a mask is going to help, then wear a mask or don't. I mean, again, I can't control what other people do. And we don't really know why somebody isn't wearing a mask. You know what I mean? They could have a really good reason why they don't wear one, and even if they don't have a good reason in your opinion, it's just not our business to, you know, force them
Judge.
to, I feel like, or I mean,
Yeah.
silently, I guess silently judge, but don't cause problems in the middle of the
I'm even going to
store.
advocate against silently judging too much. I mean, we need to work harder on developing empathy with others, and
Right, right,
start with the question of, I wonder why they're not wearing a mask. I
right,
wonder.
right. If it concerns you that much, maybe ask them, hey, why are you not wearing one? And if they say, well, it's none of your business, well, then there's your answer.
Yeah, I
you know,
don't.
I
Frank has a theory here. No, Frank, I don't think they are. If you were talking about bacteria, maybe, but for viruses to replicate, they actually need the mechanisms of the cells itself. It has to invade a cell. But back to the aerosolization of the droplets.
right.
Maybe I don't
Well,
know.
again,
I don't
there's
know.
so much that I feel like we don't know and we can't trust, and there's so much back and forth with it that it's made it a kind of an untrustworthy situation, and that's part of the really huge problem with it, I feel like.
Right, and that's the big
Yeah,
problem with government is they lied to us in order to try to manipulate us, and because of that, they threw away their ability to do the one bit of good they really could have done, which is to
right,
take the information they had and do a good job of disseminating it. None of us trust them
right,
now.
certainly. Yeah.
But I
Um,
blinged out my mask, so this is my mask. I actually got it for bush hogging to help protect me from allergies. But on one side I have guns save lives, and the other side I have our beloved porcupine. So I figure
yeah.
if I'm wearing this out in public, I'm just gonna run with it, you know?
You might as well. I said I was going to go find myself a Joe Jorgensen mask, and so if I have to wear that out and about, at least I'm promoting something while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I have to wear one at work all day long. I feel like that is smart because I do work with food, so that's a protection, and there's a lot of protections in place when it comes to food service workers working around food. So I think that's very smart. I'm not seeing any restaurants at this point that don't have servers and food service workers wearing masks, which I certainly 100% support that. But as far as general public goes, just walking around in a store or on the street, I think it's kind of silly. So
So not only do you work in food service, but you either are currently working or you're getting ready to work in food service inside of a casino.
yes, yes, I'm getting ready to change jobs, and so kind of excited about that because that kind of goes along with the whole victimless crime thing when it comes to victimless crimes, and a lot of people don't know what that means when they read it on a stance that says, we support repealing all victimless crimes.
Right.
Um, it's things that they're a crime per government standards, but they don't actually create a victim. They don't harm others. So things like gambling, things like drug use, as far as the actual personal user goes, as far as things like sex work, prostitution. That's something that I feel a woman should be able to have control over her own body, and that includes sex work, things
Or a
like that
man.
that are,
Don't
or
get
man, yes,
sexist there.
certainly.
And
Oh no,
and
certainly.
I was just at a convention, and if I understand the man's profession correctly, he's into sex work. A certain prominent gentleman in the Libertarian Party. Um,
And that's totally fine if but should he go to jail for it? No. I mean, as long as it's a consensual transaction, I don't see where the government should be involved in it at
right,
all. They should stay out of the bedroom completely.
right, and it's not. I mean, first of all, sending them to jail for it's bad enough, but you get all the unintended consequences, like if
Right. There's a
somebody's
black market.
yeah, and if somebody's abusing you as a food service worker, you have legal recourse.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if somebody's abusing our friend who's into sex work, there's nothing he, or admittedly possibly a she, can do about it.
Right, right. They're stuck. They're stuck both ways. It's kind of the same thing with drug use. You know, a lot of drug users, if they're in trouble, they won't, get the law involved because they're fearing for themselves as well as whatever situation they're dealing with.
Mhm.
And that also creates the issue of not being able to get help because there's a stigma attached. The whole thing with Portugal and the decriminalizing drugs and treating drug addiction as a health hazard, something that needs to be worked on at a health care based level. Same thing with sex work. There's a whole black market involved with it, and it's very, women who are enslaved in this system and they have no power. And men too, I'm sure. I don't want to flip sides or anything, but
I was, I was mostly playing
but
there, but I did happen
honestly,
to know the case.
so well, regardless, all people get stuck in this black market, and it's a bottomless pit. It's a dangerous place to be, and it is unregulated because it's illegal. That's the only part of it that's regulated. It's the legal aspect of it. And so
Oh,
I feel like taking that and turning that into something that is marketable and is it's not a crime anymore. It opens up the door for help for people who want to get out, who are stuck in there, not of their own consent or volition. So yeah.
not to call you out on air, but somebody corrected me on air, and I was just instantly like, "Oh, that's a good point." It was Regina. I don't know if you saw the Regina video for Law Enforcement Action Partnership,
I did
but
not.
you got to go back and watch that one. That's a fabulous interview, not because of me, but because Regina was just awesome. But she had been heavily involved, like she had been an MP, she had been a guard at a prison, and now she works with Law Enforcement Action Partnership, advocating against the prohibition of drugs. And along the way, I said black market, and she said, no, 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 let's call it an illicit market. And I'm like,
Right. So
that's a good
yeah,
point.
it is a
Good
good
point.
point. Yeah, I agree with that too. I
Yeah,
can see.
we didn't mean anything bad by it.
No, no.
But that's. I was raised with that word. You know, I actually learned the word
Right.
watching MASH and was like, "What's a black market, Daddy?" And you know, but yeah, so sometimes you learn a word all your life, and it's not like I'm going to scream at you if I hear you call it a black market, but it's kind of a good point. Illicit market, not to mention illicit market kind of describes it better anyway. It's kind of
Right.
a better word to
Right.
begin with. It's like, well, okay, illicit market. So yeah,
Yes. So I stand
we're
corrected.
against illicit markets. We're
That's
against
right. That's right.
we want to get rid of the illicit drug market. We want to get rid of the illicit sex trade. And how do we do that? We do that by presenting people with safe options. That's safer for both the customer and the person providing the service or the drugs, and you end up with safer product. It's not that we're like, yay, drugs. It's
Right. People see that, and again, it's very simple, and people always just want to seem to complicate a lot of the libertarian stances on things. And I'm like, no, no,
right.
you're taking it too far. Like, slow down a minute and let me help you.
Right.
It's very simple. It's very just giving people the ability to run their own lives, and that includes what you put in your body, what you do with your body, and it's less government, more freedom. So
Right.
so simple. I just wish that more people would wake up to it, and I see more people waking up to it every single day. It's just phenomenal to me to see what's happening this year. People are just so tired of what we have been going through, and I see that all the time. I see people who have never voted before in their lives who are coming along and saying, what do I do to register to vote this year? How do I vote? I want to vote.
Right.
And then I do see a lot of disenchanted voters as well who are going, oh, we can't keep doing this. We need to do something different. As George Jorgensen's accepted speech said, it's time for real change. We need real change. And, I just believe the Libertarian Party can affect real change.
Yeah, I got to spend a little time with her in Orlando. I'd already spent a little time with Spike, got to spend a little more time with Spike. But she is such an awesome person. I mean, as you get to know her, she is so impressively awesome. But couple of questions on victimless crimes, and these are just kind of points of confusion I've heard. And if anybody has questions for Amanda on other victimless crimes we've left out, or just questions about what we mean by that, be sure to chime in. But the first place I saw people confused that really surprised me is they meant like there's no body, like they can't find the corpse. Like if you do a really good job of hiding, it's like the tree fall in the forest model for victimless crime. Could you correct people on that?
Well, again, I don't know. It's kind of, oh, there goes my cat. He always tries to join this video.
Obvious. Yeah, I asked you too obvious, too simple of a question. Can you explain how 1 and 1 make 2? Can you?
Right. It's just so simple. It's just basically, so libertarians believe in the non-aggression principle, which basically states that as long as you're not harming another person, then you're free to do as you want. Once you overstep that boundary and you start harming others, then it's a different story. That is a victim crime. There's a victim involved, and I don't know how else to explain it in layman's terms.
Even if we never learn who the victim was, there was still a victim.
Right, there was still a victim there. Even if you didn't find the body, somebody still existed somewhere, and something happened.
Right. So we're not advocating murder as long as you can get away with it. That's
no.
So another one that's a little trickier, and I've never talked to you about it, but drunk driving.
So I believe that drunk driving is one of those things where, I've seen the argument, which is kind of weird to me, about seatbelts. We'll take it back a little bit. We'll talk about seatbelt laws. So seatbelt laws, if you're riding in your car by yourself, the law says you have to wear your seatbelt or you get a ticket. I frankly feel that that's kind of silly. I think that, seatbelt laws are kind of like anything else as far as victimless crime goes. You're only harming yourself if you don't wear a seatbelt. Does that mean I don't wear a seatbelt? No, I certainly always put my seatbelt on when I drive a car because that's just the smart thing to do, in my opinion. It's one of those things where good ideas don't require force, is kind of how I feel. And that kind of covers all of the victimless crimes, is if it's a good idea, you shouldn't have to be forced by law to do it. Drunk driving, I think, is not covered under that. My personal opinion, I feel that if you get behind the wheel of a car and you are to the point where you cannot control that vehicle anymore, now you've become a danger to others on the road. And that's just something that, we have, I guess, thresholds. The thing I don't like is that each state has their own thresholds of inebriation, and I don't think that's okay. I think that there should be a set threshold across the board, and I feel some of those thresholds are kind of ridiculous and are kind of made to entrap people. I know a fella at one point that he went into the bar, he had 2 beers, he walked out, got in his car, and went to drive home, and was pulled over by cops because he forgot to turn his headlights on. And they tested him, and he was just at the limit, and so they arrested him. And was he inebriated? Was he stumbling around? Was he not able to control his vehicle? No, he had literally just pulled out of the parking lot, hadn't flicked his headlights on quite yet. He was in the middle of town. It was dusk, so I feel like instances like that, now you're hitting this gray area. And, if he had been to where he couldn't pass a sobriety test and he wasn't able to, communicate clearly and was clearly a threat, then maybe, that would have been warranted. But I personally didn't feel that it was warranted. I felt it was rather silly, and it kind of destroyed his life for a few months. He couldn't drive. They took his license away. You know, he had to pay a huge fine. He had to go to all this like alcohol classes in court, and over 2 beers. You know, so and so I just feel that that's something that probably needs to be looked at more.
The most egregious one I heard, and watch out for this if you live in Georgia, is I know a lady. She's the wife of a friend, and she's kind of my friend too. I mean, it's not like we've hung out a lot, but basically she was pulling out of a school parking lot, and there was a little hill there, and a guy popped over the hill driving a little too fast. Judging from the skid marks, I mean, people were hired and everything, but judging from the skid marks, looks like he was doing about 45 to 55 and a 25. Mm-hmm. And he T-boned her. And it did some damage to her neck. I mean, she ended up having at least one surgery, I think multiple surgeries. The airbag popped her in the face. And the cop noticed her eyes were watery and a little glazed. So he got on the have you been drinking, or was going after her because she was acting a little funny. People who have broken necks sometimes act funny. Pro tip.
Right.
And the airbags, you get the powder in your eye. So yeah, her eyes were a little glazed, but he kept persisting. And sure enough, she had taken some migraine medicine earlier that day. Now, she'd been on that migraine medicine for years, maybe a decade. She knew how the migraine medicine affected her. And, I'd been around her and her kids. She was a really attentive mom. This is not a mom who's at home trying to get her jollies off of migraine medicine and then going to pick the kids up or mixing it with alcohol. That's not her. But yeah, they got her on quadruple DUI. Quadruple DUI for taking migraine medicine a few hours before you go to pick your kids up. And and don't get me wrong, if you take like your first day taking migraine medicine, maybe get a buddy to go pick up your kids. I mean, that's why they have that on the bottle, that you shouldn't operate heavy equipment until you learn how the drug impacts you. But it's crazy out there. But like you say, the arbitrary limits are a problem. Also, some states have crazy laws about, if you're intoxicated and have access to your car or availability to your car. It's like, what?
Right. Like some states have, even if your keys are in the ignition, but you're sitting with the car turned off, that they can still get you. I think that's just silly. The car probably should be moving, and there should be, it should actually show that you're like being negligent on the road, like not sitting in a parking lot with, nothing happening. I feel like that's, there's just a lot of work that needs to be done.
But absolutely, if you're driving down the road and you're not in control for whatever reason, that's reckless endangerment, or that's wanton endangerment. That's it's Russian roulette with somebody else's head. Right. Russian roulette, victimless crime. I don't recommend it, but I'm not going to throw you in jail to stop you. Somebody else's head, that's a problem. Even if when you pull the trigger, it turns out the bullet was in another round, that's still a problem. You still put their life at risk for no good reason whatsoever. So, wow. I went on a little rant. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I didn't see any new questions. How's your campaign going?
It's kind of just taken on a life of its own. I'm just kind of hanging on for life at this point. I am getting ready to do some door hanging. I have some door hangers I'd like to go around and start disseminating to the public. I hope that some people can help me with that.
Yeah.
So this is my plea for help. I have had a few people who have come to me and asked me, if there's things that they can help me with. But I'm only one person and I do work full time, and so I do need help. If people want to do that, I would send some stuff to them so they could help me out.
So
But
ping
yeah.
Amanda on Facebook. Go to her page there and reach out to her and offer her some time. Help her out with door hanging, and she's probably going to need some supplies for that. So maybe you're a workaholic and you don't have time to go out there and hang. You know what? Where you're a workaholic, I bet you got a little extra coin. So maybe you can donate a little to her campaign. That's how that works. Time or money. Help the cause somehow. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a friend you really care about who can't get the medical cannabis they need. Yeah, that's another term I'm trying to correct myself on.
Yeah.
Just full of those this year. But do help out, Amanda. And if you like me doing these video type things, of course, you could donate to me too, because I put a little money behind these. And yeah, you could help me out too, because I'm taking the year off. And I'm going to be okay financially taking the year off. But frankly, I'll feel a little better if you help me out with some of these paid ads. So, but help Amanda first. If you've got just enough to donate to one of us, give it to Amanda, and I'll be okay. But if you're Daddy Warbucks, give to us both. We both need help. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you for helping to spread the message of liberty. Maybe helping a person out or two on what we mean by victimless crimes. It's a big topic with us. I don't see any questions. Any last words?
Vote gold.
Vote gold.
Yes. Thank you so much for
right.
having me tonight.
Absolutely. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.